We all know that goals that we are looking to try to achieve are not necessarily the easiest. The question we need to ask ourselves, though, is how tangible is this goal? How clear am I on this goal? And what's interesting is I've recently been speaking to different people and helping different people on creating certain goals. And depending on the goal, they have to set them up differently. And what I realize is that for certain people, they can have a goal that there can be tangible, concrete steps. On the other hand, there might be certain goals that there is nothing tangible that we can do that we can be 100% certain that we will be able to achieve the thing that we want to achieve. And what's interesting is that we have to know what goal we're setting. And even within our goal, there can be different components to it, some of them being so concrete. And on the other hand, some of them just being able to be floating out there. And I like to call those aspects oxygen goals, meaning there are certain goals that we know are there. We can't necessarily feel it or touch it, but we know if we continue to do them, if we continue to take certain action, we're going to see certain results. And I'm going to break it down for you right now. You see, I was recently speaking to somebody and he wanted to be able to transition his job. He wanted to switch from one industry to a different industry. And what was interesting is that he's on this journey, he's on this search to be able to find this new job. And we're trying to be concrete about it. We're trying to say, hey, how many people can we start to speak to? How many people do we have to reach out to? How many networking events do we have to go to? How many people are going to help us be able to find another job? And we're trying to go through all these different things. And at the end of the day, he's trying to sell himself. So he's in the business of sales. And what's interesting when it comes to sales, there's this line that I heard from Alex Hormozy, and he says that if you do enough calls, if you reach out to enough people, it's going to negate the luck. And what he means by that is that if you make 1,000 calls, you're going to sell people. Like there's just people who are going to buy. But the question is, and we need to try to figure out, and this is something that I think about when I look to set my goals, is well, how many calls is that? So is it literally 1,000? Is it 320? Is it 671? Like what is the amount that we have to start to do? And I think when it comes to our own goal setting, there are certain things that we can do that we know are going to get certain results. And there are other things that we could do that there's no proof in it. And we have to really believe in the process. I want to talk about how it is we can do it. And what's interesting is that there's another goal that somebody's trying to work on, right? Somebody wanted to be able to, write. She wanted to be able to write in a newspaper. So she had connections with a certain newspaper and she just had to sit down and write the articles. And what was interesting is that she knew she needed to do these things. She knew she wanted to do these things, but her issue was that she wasn't able to give herself certain time to be able to do it. And we started to break down the specific goals in terms of trying to figure out, okay, we don't know when we're going to find this time, but how much time do we even need? How much time do you have to allocate to the specific goal? And we started to get really clear in terms of what it could look like. Because instead of thinking you're going to need 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, maybe it only takes you 2 hours. Maybe it takes you 2 sessions of 2 hours, or whatever it might be. And it's a lot less scary. And we start to try to figure out and plan around it. And there's certain strategies and tips that we can start to do to make sure, even though we don't have enough time, to be able to achieve and to put time into our goals. So when it comes to our goals, we all know we have to be able to know what we're doing. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people get so caught up on in the beginning. It's they want a specific goal, but they just don't know what action to take. I know I fell for this so many times. I want to do something, but I just don't know what to do. Like I want to grow my marketing. I just don't know how to market. I need to create a funnel. I just know how to create a funnel. And then I find myself procrastinating and constantly doing this. And I catch myself and I know when I'm procrastinating, it's just because I'm scared to take the action. I'm scared because I don't know the answer to it. And I don't know who to necessarily ask, or maybe I didn't ask that somebody yet, or maybe I did ask the person. I'm just waiting to hear back from them, but I could probably be doing something else to be more productive. And what we have to realize is that success loves speed. And if we can start to move quicker and start to take the action quicker, we're going to be able to get to the places that we want. And so many times people don't realize that if we can start to slowly take the action, if we can move ourselves just a little bit, that's going to be the things that are going to start to shift it all. That's going to be the piece that's going to help us be able to move forward and start to take step by step to attain our goal. It doesn't mean it's going to happen easily. And it doesn't mean it's going to happen quick. And guess what? It might take years to accomplish. But the question we need to do is how can we try to compress it into a shorter amount of time? And that is something we have the ability to control. And if we can start to think about what is it we can start to do, what actions we can start to take, that's going to be the thing that's going to be able to help us to be able to move forward. So the next time you're trying to figure out your goals, ask yourself, what is it that I can start to do? How can I reverse engineer my goal? Right? The way that I like to explain reverse engineering is that if I would give you a cereal box, and in the box of cereal, there was a maze. Like you were probably a kid and you love those things. So how does it that when you were a kid, did you beat the maze every single time? Ding, 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 right? You went from the back for some reason. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me. But like if you go from the back to the front, it's always a lot easier to do the maze. And same thing with reverse engineering. If we can start to take the actions backwards and move it to where it is that we need to go today, then all of a sudden we have the ability to take the actions to move forward to get to the place that we want to be to tomorrow. So what we have to start to do is we have to try to figure out what are those steps. And guess what? There are going to be certain steps that we can start to do. So this woman who wanted to write this article, so she needs to sit down for 2 hours. She needs to take out her computer or her book, a pen or paper, whatever it is that she's going to be doing, and she needs to be able to write for 2 hours. And if she can start to do that, then guess what? At the end of the 2 hours, at the end of the 4 hours, however long it's going to be able to take, she is going to have the product that she wants. She's going to hit her goal. And that is a very concrete goal. But when it comes to something like trying to find a new job, trying to do sales, trying to get married and try to find a spouse, so there's no concrete thing that you need to be doing. It's not like, oh, as long as if I date 100 girls, I'm going to find one that I'm going to marry. Like, no, it has to be the right one. And it has to be the right people who are willing to buy your product. I could reach out to 1,000 people, but guess what? If they're all like kids and they don't have any money, guess what? They're not going to buy anything. So we have to try to figure out for ourselves is what is it we can start to do? How is it we can make our goals as concrete as possible? And how is it we can start to take our goals and the oxygen part of the goal? How is it that we can start to take that aspect of it and start to really make sure that we can start to stick with it? Because we all know that the action will happen. The things that we are going to happen. It's not every day we work out, we're getting stronger, but it's the continuous action and the consistency that's going to help us to be able to take the action to get stronger. So when we can start to ask ourselves those questions, then all of a sudden we start to build the muscles and we start to be able to take the action. Then all of a sudden something clicks and we're like, oh, that's what happens. Of course, there are certain skills that you can get. So if somebody who is very good at networking, so they might be able to get a job a lot quicker, but we don't know when that's going to happen. Right. But they're moving faster. So when somebody wants to do sales, if somebody calls 100 people in one day versus 1 week, so the person who's doing it in 1 day is going to get a lot better, right? There are certain skills that you can get. But what we have to realize is that there's certain aspects to the goal that are an oxygen aspect to it, where we can't really have some concrete type of answer to it. And what we have to do is we have to believe in the process. We have to literally trust in the process that this is the thing that I'm doing is the thing that's going to help me be able to succeed at what it is that I want. And by doing that, and by really more understanding that, it gives us the belief that, you know what, just because I don't necessarily see the results, just because I called 100 people today and every one of them rejected me, so therefore I'm still at square zero, guess what? 101 is going to help me even more. 102 is going to get me even better. And then a 3. And then I'm going to be constantly tweaking and working on all these different things. And if we have this ability to start to say to ourselves, what is it I can start to do? And just understanding which part of the goals is oxygen, then we have the ability to start to really move forward in our goals. Another aspect that I love when it comes to goal setting is Simon Sinek made famous is this idea of, finite versus infinite goals. And for so many people, they don't necessarily know that there's certain types of goals that we have to be able to put into certain boxes. So for example, if somebody wants to become a millionaire, so making $1 million, you've accomplished the goal of becoming a millionaire and you hit your finite goal because that was your goal. But let's say somebody wants to be a happy person or somebody wants to have great relationships. So when is it complete? Is there going to be a time where like, I did it. I know that I am now a happy person. And then the next day something happens and you're not happy. Or, in a week from then, you're not constantly working on yourself and you end up getting a little less happy, right? Or years, whatever it might be. So what we have to recognize for ourselves is that there's certain things that we can start to do that are going to help us become more successful and achieve our goals that are going to have a specific goal at the end. So they're going to be finite. And there are other goals that the point of the goal is to play. It's to play the game. It's to be in the game. It's to constantly be working on it. I want to be somebody who's living a happy life. Guess what? It means every day you have to do certain things. Every week you have to do certain things in order to become that person. And if we can just understand that there's these two aspects, that could be a big game changer. For so many people, they don't realize it. They don't realize that they have the ability to start to change themselves. They have the ability to start to move forward, to do things in their own personal life, that they can start to take the action to make things happen in their lives. And that is something that is so powerful when it comes to our own lives, because we all want to be able to step it up. Maybe, I shouldn't say all of us, but many of us want to be able to step up our lives. We want to be able to do so much more. We want to have that ability to take on the things and not be scared to be able to do the things that we know we should be doing. But guess what? Life happens. We get scared. And we have to try to figure out what is it we can start to do? How is it we can just not think and get out of our heads and be practical? It's one of the strategies that I talk about when I try waking up early in the morning. It's like not thinking, because once we get into our head, we're dead. And I think everybody can relate when they hit that, when their alarm goes off in the morning and they're about to hit their snooze button. Once they start thinking about, well, I could probably get in another 10 minutes or 20 minutes and I'll be fine. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you wake up 2 hours later and you're like, oh, why did I even do that? Like I knew it. Like I just convinced myself. And it's because we're in our head. And the same thing happens on a day throughout our day. If we know exactly what we need to be doing, we got to get out of our minds and we have to just take the action to be able to move forward. And even on the other end, it's not just getting out of our heads, but looking how this specific thing that we're doing is not a bad thing, even if it's difficult, even if it's hard, even if I have to reach out to someone. I was recently speaking to someone today, and I told them, I'm like, the quicker you want to be able to achieve your goal, we have to realize that we have to move fast. So you can look and you could start to text people, or you could pick up the phone and call people. And those two are going to be very, very different, because texting somebody, you're going to go back and forth. It's not going to be as, you're not going to be able to get as a good answer, and you're not going to, it's good. Things are just going to delay. Or you could call the person and find out in the next 3 minutes what the answer is going to be. You could call the person and then you could set up an actual call to sit down and speak to this person. And what we have to start to figure out is for ourselves, what is it we can start to do? How is it we can start to put in our own lives the things that we want to do in order to make sure that we can start to achieve the success that we want? Because for so many of us, we want to do certain things, but we just don't know what it is. And if we could start to take that action and to be able to move forward, that's going to be the piece that's going to change everything for us. So ask yourself, is the goal that I'm looking to achieve, is it a finite goal or is it an infinite goal? Is the goal that I want to achieve, is it more concrete, or does it have more oxygen in it? What is it that I can start to do to make things more concrete so I know exactly what it is I need to be doing? And what is it part of the goal that is oxygenized? We'll call it like that, right? And the reason why we have to know that is so we're going to be able to move forward and not be in our heads, because we're thinking like, oh my gosh, I dated 50 people and didn't get married yet. I didn't go, there was no sparks yet. I must not be able to get married. It's like, no, you have to keep going. And that is something that I think, I know for me personally, I constantly get messed up on, because I'm constantly focusing on something that I think I can't control. But the amount that we could put into it, the numbers, the mess that we could put into the oxygenized goals, that's going to be the thing that's going to shift everything. That's going to be the thing that's going to really help us get it to the next level. So if you're feeling stuck in a specific area, ask yourself, what am I being stuck on? Do I know what it is that I need to be doing, or do I not know? And if I know what it is, do I believe in it? Do I think this thing is actually going to work, or am I just burnt out because it hasn't worked yet? And I think if we can start to figure that out, then all of a sudden we have this ability to start to say, hey, you know what? I can do certain things. I can make certain changes in my life. And that's going to be the thing that's going to be able to help us to be able to be more productive, be able to attain and take the action, because we all want to take the action. We all want to do the things. But guess what? We get nervous, we get scared, and we're not able to do that. So let's ask ourselves, what is really holding us back? And a lot of times, to be honest, it's just us. We hold ourselves back. We know what we need to be doing. We know how quickly we have to move. And honestly, a lot of times it's a lot quicker. I literally was just working on something that I've been pushing on for a while, and it took me 45 minutes. I've been working on it for like 2 or 3 days now. And if I would have just been, okay, let me just focus for 45 minutes, get the thing done, then guess what? I would have been done 3 days ago, and I would have been 2 days ahead of schedule, or I wouldn't be 2 days delayed on schedule. And we need to ask ourselves these things, because we're constantly doing it throughout our day. So what is it we need to do? How is it we need to be taking the action? What action is it necessary? And I think one of the things that going back to the part that a lot of people don't necessarily know what it is they need to be doing, I would ask yourself, what if you did know? You tell me, oh, Ben, I want to invest in real estate. I have zero idea about real estate. I have no idea where to start. Well, what if you did know where to start? What should you do? Where should you start? Reaching out to people, looking on YouTube, trying to find books on it. We could try to probably figure out certain things that we can start to do. So why not? Ask yourself, if you're being stuck on something, it's like, okay, I'm having trouble dating, I'm having trouble with my business, I'm having trouble with my health, whatever it might be. Ask yourself, what am I getting stuck on? Is there some action I can take? Because the action is going to breed action, which is going to breed more action. And the more action we take, then we have the ability to really take things to the next level. And that is going to be the thing that's going to shift so much of it. Because I know when I'm in a funk, when I'm down, when I'm trying to accomplish something, I know I should be doing more. It's because I'm not taking action. I know I'm just sleeping more than I should be sleeping. I'm not moving as much around. I'm cozy in my house, in my chair, whatever it might be. And I realized that if I want to be able to do things, I have to start to step it up a little bit. And honestly, it's one of the things that one of the reasons why I like doing these podcasts, because it makes me say, Bennett, you're committed to this thing. You have to do it. Too bad you're tired. Too bad you want to do it. Guess what? You have to come up with something. You have to create it. You have to be able to speak about something. You have to put energy into it. And that's something that we need to start to figure out for ourselves. So, what is it you want to be doing? Where's the energy that you can start to bring to your goals? Because guess what? It's your life at the end of the day. Nobody's going to make it happen for you. You're the one who's going to have to make it happen. And you have that ability, which is awesome. It's not going to be easy. And that's okay. So if we can start to be able to move forward and take these actions, I'm telling you, it's going to be a massive, massive game changer for us. Wishing you all the luck. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, like always.